Welcome back to the Building Confidence podcast, where I, your host, Louisa Zapati, share what I've learned through the years, through the tears, so you don't have to. This episode, we have a guest, so you're not just going to be hearing from my life lessons, you're going to be hearing from Coralee's as well. This is episode 140 of the podcast. Coralee, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Coralee. Thank you for having me on, Louisa. I was so glad to reconnect with you after we met in real life when I was visiting Australia. Um,
So cool.
so this is so exciting. Thank you.
Yes, awesome. And what did you do? Because I remember when you reached out to me and we got to meet, but what led you to reach out to me and what is our connection?
Yes, so through the trades, and I was visiting Australia for a friend's wedding, and I was like, you know what? I've connected with so many cool females in North America. I should see if there's some tradies in Australia that would want to meet up too. And I found the awesome, very good connections that are now in Sydney. So that was cool.
Yeah, that's it. And where are you based so people know?
Okay, so I'm on Vancouver Island, British Columbia, Canada.
Yeah, beautiful. So that international community in the trades I've been feeling it for a few years. It's just amazing how, yes, we're in different parts of the world, but we go through so many of the same things.
We can compare notes and see similarities, and then how we can learn from each other as well and compare experiences and what it's like, because there's, slight differences as well for different paths that we can take. So that's really neat.
Yeah, that's it. And I'm going to probe a little bit more and get you to start from right at the beginning when you started your career. What did the start of your career look like?
Okay. Do you know like Goldilocks and the Three Bears, that story?
Yeah.
My trade is in automotive, and I feel like my journey is kind of like Goldilocks' story, where I had to try a couple of things to find the right fit. So in high school, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I found automotive by accident. I like to talk and wasn't afraid of paperwork and all those things. So I was thinking about going into law. But one day when I was in the high school, I saw a poster on the door, and it was for the Automotive Technician Foundations program, which is like the entry course that you take if you want to be a technician. And something clicked. I was like, I should take that. And even if I don't, wind up being a technician for the rest of my life, I'm still going to gain a whole bunch of valuable knowledge, right? So that was neat. I signed up for that, and it was a 10-month program. We did a classroom in the morning, and then we worked on vehicles in the afternoon. However, I found that I like to talk to people, which isn't something that you can necessarily do when you're supposed to be in your bay working on vehicles. And I'm in Canada, so it's kind of cold, and I'm a wuss there, right? And things are a wee bit heavy. So I was like, okay, this is super cool. I've had a great opportunity, but Goldilocks is saying the porridge is too cold, right? So that was that. And I was like, okay, well, I know so much about cars now. You know what I should do next is start selling cars, because then I get to talk to lots of people, right? So that was super awesome. I found a great mentor in a dealership to take me on, and I love talking to people and finding a vehicle that worked best with their budget and had their good features. However, when people are buying cars, they don't necessarily want to hear about the maintenance and how easily accessible things used to be under the hood and all the upkeep that goes along with that, right? Because things aren't necessarily easy to access anymore. So I was kind of like, okay, well, this is fun, but now the porridge is too hot. So I was like, okay, I have the sales skills, I have the technical skills, and I answered an ad for a parts person at a place called Canadian Tire here. And that was a sweet spot. People would come plunk random things down on the desk, and I'd have to identify what they are and find them a part. So that was the sweet spot for me, and then moved into service advisor, and career just grew from there.
Yeah, no, that's a beautiful story because I think so many school age kids, people ask them a lot, what are you going to do for work? What are you going to do for work? And when you get asked that question as a kid, It almost feels like you're deciding what your whole career is going to be for like the solid 40, 45 years, 50 years your career is going to be. But that's not the case. Like you're not going to know as a 16, 17, early 20s what the rest of your life is going to look like.
Yeah, for sure. That's the great thing about the trades, right? You can you can go down so many different avenues, right? You start off learning your trade, working for somebody, working all these different facets, and then you can move up in sort of corporate careers, or you can become your own business owner, or you can go into teaching as well. There's just so many opportunities. So that's what I love about it.
Yeah, that's awesome. And you're working for yourself now, I believe. Is that right?
Yes, yeah. So
Yes.
beginning of this year, I'm teaching service advisors full time, right, about communicating with their customers and communicating with the technicians. So that brings so many different opportunities to be able to travel to different places. So I'm so excited about what this year brings and attending different conferences. I was so bummed that you were in Texas when I wasn't there.
I know. I might go to Texas again this year. I'm sussing that out, but I'll keep you posted.
All right,
Uh,
sounds good. They have a lot of good stuff in Texas. I'm having FOMO because they have a female in automotive conference going on in a couple of weeks or something like that, and I didn't even know it. So I'll have to put on my list for next year.
yeah, that's it. I'm pretty sure that's a yearly one. I haven't been to that one as well, and I have a little bit of FOMO about that one too. That's it. So the transition from going to working for someone to being a business owner happened quite recently for you. What did that transition look like?
I don't think it's something that, I jumped into right away. It's sort of like just slowly snowballed or grew, right? So for the past, like my COVID project was writing my first book when before we realized that automotive is an essential service so that the doctors can get to the hospital and the world can still turn. So that's when I got that first one done. But I've, slowly been attending conferences and teaching online. And then just my own business got too busy to be able to have a full-time job.
Yeah, no, that's it. And what got you into training people? So I assume you got good at the profession and you're kind of like, okay, I want to teach people, but yeah, tell me how it was in your words.
Yeah, I think it's, like you said, you go through the tiers so other people don't have to, right? Service advising, there's not really any governing body or manual on how to do it, right? Technicians need to go to school and here in Canada get their Red Seal certification, and car salespeople need to have a license as well. But service advisors have to have that technical skill as well as the sales skills, and there wasn't really anything for them. So my first book, Five-Star Service Advisor, I took everything that I had learned over the 15 years and put it into that book so other people can, learn from my mistakes. Because really it was like oh no, I did this, I didn't communicate this correctly, and then I was able to pivot and find a better way to communicate with people.
Yeah, that's it. So you kind of, yeah, you put in the hard yards, you got it, you got that practice down, and you're kind of like, okay, now this is something that I can teach others.
Mm-hmm. Yep, for
Yeah.
sure. And then I didn't even realize too that like in Canada, parts technician is a Red Seal trade as well. So when I was on like maternity leave, I did Googling and was able to grow in my career that way as well. And that has opened up so many cool opportunities for me.
Yeah, that's it. I like to say, like, in the automotive space, there's so many kind of cousin qualifications that you can add on. Like, my experience has been in the heavy diesel world, where then I added on mobile plants, so like construction and mining equipment, and it's quite easy to then go into the electrical space, the auto electrical space, we call it here, like, and then go into parts if you want to. Like, there's so many kind of cousin things that you can add on.
For sure. And it's not like, oh, I wasted my time here. It's like you're growing from that knowledge that you got. It's growing your knowledge base.
Yeah,
So that's
that's
really
it.
neat.
Yeah, and you mentioned your first book, and when we release this episode, you're actually going to have another book coming out 2 days after this episode goes live. Do you
Oh,
want to
okay.
do you want to tell us about that, the book journey?
Yeah. So yeah, I had a connection through previous work through somebody who is a book publisher, and they kind of, and that was Suzanne at Prominence Publishing, was like, pushing me that we need to get, like there needs to get the knowledge out there. So that really kind of motivated me. And after writing the first book, I did the second one because of a bad Google review or a bad Amazon review that I got, saying that my first book
Okay.
just had a ton of common sense in it, and it didn't say how to actually explain maintenance items and repairs and diagnostics and things. So really, that's what I put into the second one is how to explain diagnostics, repairs, and maintenance in a way that people would understand. So it's written in a way that it could be behind the counter for service advisors, but it can also be on the coffee table in the waiting room. So if a customer wants to know, hey, why is, Louise telling me that I can't bring in my customer supplied parts? I
Mhm.
go over all of the things with that.
Yeah.
And what goes into diagnostics. I think that's a huge thing as well with can't you just plug the computer in and it tells you what's wrong with the vehicle, right? And how to explain that to people or how vehicle owners can understand as well.
Yeah, that's it. And when the book goes live, the new one, and even I'm assuming the old one might be in the same space, the original one, where can they
Mhm.
find the book?
So it's going to be available on Amazon.
Yeah,
Yeah,
beautiful.
Amazon Australia, Amazon US, Amazon Canada, Europe, all of those places.
Yeah, perfect. And
Mhm.
I'll get you to send me those links and we'll put them in the description box of this episode. So if anyone wants to give them a read, I've had a read of your first one and I've also had a snippet of the latest one as well. And I reckon it's really good for technicians as well because we're not really taught how to communicate when we become technicians. And when a technician starts a business, a mechanic, an electrician, whatever trade they're in, they have to be the trade, they're the service advisor, they're the HR, they're everything in one. So I reckon the stuff that you've got in the books is really useful for someone in that position as well.
Yeah, I think that's something that, like us with a technical mindset can somewhat struggle on is we want to overshare the technical information with our customer, right? And then it just goes right over their head. So, like in here, I talk about, what that maintenance item is and why it's necessary. And then an example of a non-automotive thing so that the customer can understand, what it is, how often it needs to be done, and then what happens if it's not done. Like I had a friend and we were driving in my car and she mentioned that my heat smelled a bit funny. And I was like, oh, I must make a note to replace my cabin filter. And she goes, those are real? So then
Yeah.
we take this for granted that, we know that cabin filters are real, but some people think that they're a scammy thing like blinker fluid.
Yeah.
Hmm.
And being able to determine what's a scam and what's not a scam. And even that, I think, like being women, there's also another layer to that where there's the stereotype that women get taken advantage of in the automotive space because they don't have that skills and background as well, which is something that I think is changing, or I hope is changing anyway. It's not something I've experienced. But yeah, giving women in general who are kind of have been scammed or worried about being scammed, I think the book is good for them as well because they get that knowledge. They can actually ask legit questions to probe service advisors or scammy kind of automotive places and they know what they're talking about as well.
Yeah, for sure. Like in the repair section, I talk about for the service advisor all the information that they should ask the technician about so they can anticipate the customer's questions. But then I also talk about questions that the customers should ask the service advisors. So it's great for both sides of the counter.
Yeah, perfect. No, it's so good. I'm so excited to see it come out and I really hope it does well because yeah, the bit that I read has been like awesome and like I said, I see it working for a few different audiences, so I'm going to be suggesting it to those people from my end anyway.
Oh, thank you so much. I do like my filter cake as well.
Yes, I saw that. I was like that is awesome. That is the perfect play on it. I'm like, yes.
And I
No.
won't talk about where each filter came from the story and what vehicle they fit into.
Yeah. No, that's it. But even just knowing that background, I think having those little special things for you is so cool. Like even I'm relating it similarly to like a tradesperson, like working on a car, working on a truck, working on a building, being like, I worked on that. I worked on that. I know went into that.
Yeah, that's right. People do that of different trades.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did the plumbing in that house. I did the electrical there. I painted that.
Yeah. No,
And
stuff
then
like that.
in automotive, it's like, yeah, that car was in the shop, or I know what kind of the oil specification on that vehicle is.
Yeah, that's it. All those fun facts that to people outside of the industry are like, cool. But you're like,
Yeah,
yes, I
usually
know
the
this.
spouses.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, that's awesome. And going on to kind of like the next part of our chat is these life lessons. Now, I know you have a few ready to go. Did you want to
Mhm.
start sharing your first life lesson?
Sure. I think I'll do the first one. It's kind of a good story. Like when I was selling cars, and I mentioned I had a great mentor, and his name was Henry Lee, and he took me under his wing. And I guess this is great, like for the females listening here, is he sat me down and talked about the people in the dealership, and he says, "Do you see the person who's the business manager?" I was like, "Yep." And it was a female. He goes, "She used to be a salesperson just like you. And now she's in the business office and she's dating the general manager." And that's all he told me.
Mm-hmm.
So, I think you can take that story a couple of different ways, right? Like, hey, if you want to try and get ahead in the industry, you can try working your way up that way, or watch out for this. So I took that as a watch yourself kind of warning. So that was a very good lesson for me, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
Hmm.
And I've actually had this conversation a few times over the years as well. And there's also kind of like another angle to that where like men may withhold promotions unless they do certain favors or become in certain relationships. So like that power dynamic, there's a few different angles you could look at it as well. And you never know what was going through her mind where, she might have been in that position or she might have done it on purpose or they might actually really like each other. Like there's so many scenarios there.
Hmm. But it was just making an observation that was being pointed out, and then I could take it whichever way I wanted to.
Yeah, that's
Hmm.
it. I often say that I'm not a hypocrite, but from experience, don't recommend dating inside your workplace. Yeah, but
Hmm.
yeah, we all add those things up. Like I've got a friend as well who, was dating someone at work and now they're married with 3 kids. So there's so many different ways it can turn out.
Hmm. Yep, that's true too. So it could be taken whichever way we want to interpret it, I think.
Yeah,
Whichever
that's
way
it.
works with our life goals.
Yeah, life goals, our values, there's so many different things that come to play in that kind of like workplace dating scene.
Hmm.
Yeah. No, that's it. That's a good one. All right. Do you want to talk any more about that one?
I think it's a short and sweet one, and everyone can take it whichever way they'd like to. That'd
Yeah,
be interesting
that's
to
it.
hear. Like people can put comments, right? Because
Yes.
I'd
Yeah.
like to hear what people put in the comments about it too,
Yeah.
how they
That'll
interpreted
be
it. Hmm.
Yeah, that's a good discussion to have because yeah, like we said, there's a few different ways. You mentioned a few here, and there could be some that I haven't even thought of.
Yeah, right. Because I
But
just took it one way or the other, but hmm.
yeah, different ways. And I think that's one thing with just advice in general. Like, there's so many different ways, and even at different points in your life, you can hear the same sentence, but it'll mean something different to you as well. Yeah. No, that's it. All right, your next one.
Okay, the second one was when I was first starting off as a service advisor, and it was a coworker. His name was Peter, and he told me that my job is to keep the technicians busy. That's all he said to me, is to keep the technicians busy. So I, looked at the big picture of that as if the technicians are busy, then they are working and they're earning their money, so they're going to be able to support their families. However, if the technicians are working customers' vehicles are getting fixed and out the door, and they're driving safely on the road, and then I'm going to have happy customers as well. So it really, I didn't take it as, strictly a money thing. You must do this in order to make money. It's like, no, this is the way, the circle of life kind of a thing. Technicians make money, customers are happy, and then we keep going. And really I view it as, it's like almost like a public service. We're fixing vehicles, and for the doctors, for the nurses, for people who are working at the grocery store, delivering the mail, like all these people, and potentially maybe they could have had a breakdown or, an accident or something like that, and we're preventing it from happening, like one vehicle at a time.
Yes, that's it. And like automotive is like everyone is going to need automotive consistently through their life unless they decide I'm never going to drive anywhere, I'm never going to own a car. But not many people do that.
But they're catching public transportation, and those require maintenance as well. So even if it's not something that they're dealing with, they're going to be transported somewhere or the other.
Yeah, that's it. And that kind of like repeat work is such a big thing because that person, like people own cars, I'm assuming like typically 10 to 20 years, like in that range. That person's going to need to get that car serviced, maintained over that time. And if you build a really good relationship with a person, then it's not only them, it's their family's work, like that. It'll just keep coming back to you. Every year they'll book in for the service. As soon as they hear a funny noise, they're going to call you straight away. Like you've got a customer for 10, 15, almost to life if you really look after them.
They're going to bring you like coffee and brownies and all that good stuff.
Yeah, that's it. And work. Yes. No,
do I get another one? I just thought
if you want another one, yeah, you can share another one.
I'm just thinking about too, like when I was a new service advisor on the counter as well, and I was the only person there, and the service manager was at a meeting, and a man came to the counter, and I was young, and he's like, "There's no way I am going to tell a small blonde person about what's going on with my vehicle. No, 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 no." And then, yell at me, and I'm in tears, and I go out to the shop and I tell the shop foreman what's going on. And, I don't know what's going to happen after that, right? So he goes out and tells the customer, Coralee's the person at the counter. She's the person that you deal with. If you have a problem dealing with Coralee, then your vehicle is not coming into the shop here. You're not welcome here. So I feel that's very important because sometimes our coworkers or managers or owners may not have that view, and they want to bend over backwards to make that person happy, and we feel like crap, right? So that really inspired me to make sure that I make sure I'm taken care of and not belittled at all. So always having a team that has my back and supports me, I find is super important as well. There's been a few red flags. I'm like, oh, this isn't the place for me. I'm going to move on.
That's it. Like those really true allies. Like, I don't know if it's happening much over in your side of the world in Canada, but in Australia, they're talking a lot about like male allies, and they're having like different programs and training and stuff like that to help men become better allies. But really, like, just not taking shit. Like, that's it. Like, if someone is being rude, then that is not okay. See you bye, whether the customer, the boss, whatever it is. Like, just being like, don't be rude. Like, that's not on here. Take it away. Yeah.
And really recognizing when people do that and acknowledging them, right? Because they may think it's nothing. Like, hi, John, if you're hearing this. That was like a huge impact in my career, right? As opposed to he might not even think of it, whereas it's a big thing in my world.
Yeah, that's it. And I think even like, it sounds like he was a very kind of strong, certain man. Like he knew what he stood for. He knew what his values was. But so many people are a bit nervous. They're like, oh, if I scare a customer away, then maybe I'm not going to get that promotion. Maybe we won't have enough work. But being like so sure in yourself and your company and your values to be like, this is not okay, leave. We are not scared. You're not threatening us. Like we'll get more business. We are good. We will get more business if you leave.
Yeah, exactly. We don't want that type of customer, need to bring ourselves down to that level. And it's unfortunate wherever they go. Actually, that guy, thought about it over the weekend and then came back with like an apology meat cheese platter for us.
Yes.
So I think we let him back in. He learned his lesson.
That's it. And yeah, giving people the opportunity to change. Like, I don't know, like, I feel like so many people, if they have, like, I don't want to say like people's parents are rude, but if they have rude parents, then they're like, cool, being rude is normal. That's how I get what I want in the world. And then unless someone calls them out, like John did, they're just going to go through the world that way without being checked.
Yeah, so it's great that he had the opportunity to, to check himself, being like, oh, yeah, I realized I was kind of a jerk and take it back. So, yeah, again, thinking about all these little things that are making the world a better place, one person at a
Yeah,
time.
one person at a time. And
Hmm.
sometimes you got to remember that that is enough.
Hmm. Yeah, and I think the trades too is also great for helping us, well, almost more on the flip side, but communicating facts and how we communicate with people, right? Like if we need to talk to other professionals, not providing too much unnecessary detail in there as well, I find very handy. Like,
Yeah,
hmm
no,
but
that's
also
it.
it hurts my
But
storytelling ability a little bit.
that's it. All right, we gotta have the balance of straight to the point, but a little bit of story. That there's like a bit of a seesaw going on here.
Hmm. For sure.
Yeah, no, that's it. And what is next for you?
Yeah, so yeah, this book is all printed and published and gonna be out on March 6th. It's Coralie's Car Care Cookbook. So I kind of like
Yes.
wanted to do a play on, Martha Stewart in the kitchen, so it was less intimidating than if I'm in a garage, right? So I'm like spilling all the secrets of, lifting up the garage and what's going on in the shop. Um,
Beautiful.
through a couple different classes that I've been doing for the past some like a good since late last year to this year now, I've found that a lot of females are coming into the class and getting into the trades. And I would like to start a book series where we can get women from different areas, different trades, and talk to them about how they got into their trade, what they love about their trade, what some of the challenges are, and then advice for the next generation. And put that all into a book that could be used in resources in schools. And, any female who might be trades curious or inclined can get it and figure out what they would like to do and hear about other people's experiences, and then start a scholarship where the funding from that book can go to actually help that next generation. And the folks who put their stories into the book, they become published authors, and it'll help build their career as well. So that's my new lofty ambitious goal. So hopefully we can create one or many books in Australia.
Yeah, no, that'll be awesome. It'll be, yeah, so cool to see something like that come together. Like, there's so many of us with so many different experiences. And even like we shared, like, in the life lessons that you've shared, like, there's so many little nuggets that we all have.
For sure. And we put it in there and we might not even realize that it's going to impact somebody's life, right? But if we share our story with somebody and it helps their journey, then that would be awesome and heartfelt.
Yes, that's it. Is there anything you'd like to add before we wrap up?
Let's see here. I would really like to come to Australia. I'm going to make it back there so that I'm not weathering in Canada. That's one of the goals I
Yes.
have. That's
Yeah,
yeah.
that's it.
We have the books, and then yeah, make get down to the southern hemisphere so I'm not in the snow in the dark all half a year.
Half a year, yeah. That's it. And you can come and support the service advisors in Australia as well, because that's a whole industry over here too. So if anyone is listening and they know service advisors that could need some support, or businesses that could need some training for their service advisors, have a discussion with Coralie, and hopefully she can come over and get all of her goodness into the Australian market as well.
For sure, have online classes as well. So if anybody wants to join some training that way, and it would be neat to hear about just different stories about, what's going on in Australia, what the industry is like, what it's like in America, what it's like in Canada, what it's like in Europe, and we can all learn from each other's examples. Like I was talking about in the maintenance item, sharing an example. Everybody comes from different walks of life and experiences, so it's neat to hear from a group of different ways of communicating, we can all grow from there.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. All right. And wrapping up, everyone. So the book, the link for the first book and then for the second book, where you can get that, will be in the description of this podcast as well. And we'll put Coralee's contact details in there as well. But yeah, thank you for joining us. And remember, if you don't believe in yourself right now, please borrow my belief in you. I know you can do anything you put your mind to. You might need to have a nap or a snack first, but I know you can do it. And we will see you next episode.